Rich here, and today's video is all about my top 5 Arrma RC cars. There are around 21 cars in the Arrma range. This is purely my top 5. And there may be an Arrma car out there that you think should be in this top 5 that I've not included, but I am going to talk you through the reasons why this is my top 5. But you are more than welcome to have your say and your inclusion in the comment section below this video. Now, I've either owned or extensively driven all of the cars featured in this video. I'm going to talk you through the pluses and the minuses of these cars. There are more positives than negatives, obviously, as that's why they are my top 5 Arrma RC cars out there. Now, I will say, there are no Arrma rollers included in this video. I will say that from the outset, because Arrma do make a couple of great rollers, one of which has just come out this week, but the roller is only going to be as good as the electrics you put in it. So that's why I've sort of parked the rollers, left those to one side for the purposes of this video. Anyway, let's get straight to it, talk you through my top 5 Arrma RC cars. Well, at number 5 in my top 5 of Arrma RC cars, it's the Granite 4x4 3S BLX. 50 mile an hour top speed, straight out of the box. So what is there to like and dislike about this car? On the downside, it's a radio that I actually don't mind, but I do know a lot of people dislike. It is the Spectrum STX2, but this does help keep the price down of the car, and you need to bear that in mind when purchasing this. It comes with a BLX 100 amp ESC, which is 3S ready. Powering it up to that 50 miles an hour speed, we have a BLX 3200 kV brushless motor. This thing will wheel on demand, blistering acceleration. It can handle jumps pretty well indeed. Now, there's plenty of images of the car strutting its stuff on here. Plastic tub chassis on here. It's got like honeycomb strengthening within it, which provides it with a great deal of strength. Plastic sliding drive shaft, but then so do a lot of the modern Traxxas cars. One of the downsides to this car, it has plastic differentials, and nobody at the minute, I believe, does metal upgraded ones on there. And the shocks, they leaked on the brushed cut version of this car, they still leak on the brushless version, and I do think that is something that Arrma maybe needs to get sorted. But overall, dollar for dollar, this is an absolutely cracking car for the money, and I don't think any of its competitors for the price point can get close to it. And there's a whole series of videos that you can look at in your own time in the Arrma site. At this price point, we've got a plastic chassis tray on here. It's not like the other 6S Arrma cars where it's metal or metal drivetrain even throughout. As you can see on here, we have a plastic centre drive shaft and plastic drive shafts going out to the wheels, as well as a plastic differential. Now, the plastic drive shafts I have absolutely no issue with at all. Those proved quite durable. I ran one of these on 4S. Now, that's the differential I was mentioning, the plastic one that really somebody would make a fortune if they did a metal upgraded one, and you can scan through all the features on the Giga site. But for $299.99, I think it represents a huge amount of car for the money. It's virtually untouchable for a 4-wheel drive monster truck that does 50 miles an hour straight out of the box. But anyway, I'll put a link to it on the video. And number 4, I have the Arrma Notorious 6S BLX. This is based on the Arrma Outcast, which is exactly the same under the chassis. The Notorious simply has a better looking body to my mind. 60 plus miles an hour with the optional pinion fitted on this. You're likely to get close to 65, although at that point these tyres are going to be like pizza cutters ballooning on there. So if you're buying one of these to be doing almost speed runs with, you might want to consider fitting belted tyres to the car. But for day-to-day street bashing use, they are absolutely fantastic. Huge amount of grip, and I guarantee if you go thrashing this around on your lawn, they will have so much grip you will have very little grass left indeed. So what is there to like and dislike about this car? Well, there we go with that radio again, folks. Spectrum STX2. But you can change that out fairly easily for another radio. Now, that 15 kilogram steering servo, to my mind, you could probably do with something a little bit stronger on there, maybe a 25 kilo one. So it's something to think about upgrading if you get one of these. But it will do pretty well stock out the box on there. BLX 185 ESC, 150 amps of power on there, powering that brushless 2050 kV motor. This thing will virtually backflip on demand from a standing start. If you turn the punch level up to its top rating on there, it will wheelie endlessly on demand. The Outcast was classed as the original stunt truck, and I would certainly agree with that. I've owned both the Outcast and the Notorious. And I would say if you want a good high-speed
all-round general basher, then this is definitely the car for you. And it's available in black and blue. The blue is absolutely outstanding, and when I mentioned that real steel paint, just check that out on the slider on there, so you can see the effect after it's been out for a little bash. So there is a lot to like about this car. You're getting all metal drivetrain on here, more metal parts than you could check a sticker on here, and that gorgeous real steel body as well. So price wise, to my mind, you're getting quite a lot of car for your money. $549 in either black or blue. If you want a car which is going to be one of the ultimate bashers, ultimate stunt trucks, pull wheelies, do backflips, front flips, etc., then this could well be the car for you. I'll put a link to it on Arrma below. Just remember guys, if you like what you see today, don't forget to subscribe. Now at number 3, we have the Arrma Mojave 6S BLX 60 miles an hour plus out of the box. Now, I've not owned this one, but I would say this is in my next like 1 or 2 Arrmas which I would look to purchase on it. I've driven this one quite extensively. You look at it from the outside and it almost looks like it might have a solid rear axle. Wrong, it's got independent suspension all round. This means, while it is a little bit more than the Traxxas UDR, it does handle considerably better than the Traxxas UDR. It's quite a bit bigger in size as well, and through the air this thing is an absolute dream to jump. I used to have an Arrma Senton. This thing jumps so much better, so much easier to handle in the air. It is untrue. On the plus and the minus points of the car, we have the STX2 radio, which I mentioned earlier on. Again, 15 kilo servo. To my mind, a car of this size probably could do with 20-25 kilos on there, but that's a relatively cheap upgrade, and the stock one does seem to handle what you throw at it quite well. And again, you've got the BLX 150 amp ESC and the BLX 2050 kV motor. Both of those are proven power plants across the Arrma range, providing this car with absolutely devastating power. To my mind, if you're looking at purchasing maybe your first 6S Arrma car, I would say this should be towards the top of your list, purely because of its handling. Either on blacktop or dirt, the thing is just an absolute dream to drive, and very, very beginner friendly indeed. Available in red or lime green, and on the Arrma Giga site you can drill down into all the detail parts. Now, I mentioned the Senton. Well, we've got the Mojave, Senton, Mojave, Senton. So you can see the difference clearly in size on that slider scale on there. And it's got some very neat features. Just check out that integrated roll cage. Now, while it may look like it's got a plastic chassis on there, nope, it's got a 3mm aluminum chassis on there. 4-wheel drive, full metal drivetrain on this car, so there is a lot to like for this price point. Speaking of which, it's yours in either colour from Arrma or Arrma at $629.99. And I said if you wanted a first Arrma to drive that's going to give you potential to develop your driving skills, then I would say this could be the one for you, because it is so very easy to drive over jumps and at high speed. Well, at number 2 we have the Typhon 6S BLX 70 miles an hour capable straight out of the box. And when you hear the price point compared to the other Arrma cars, this is an absolute bargain. I have owned every one of these cars from version V1 through to version V4, and I will probably buy version V5 when that eventually comes out. This thing pretty much can do it all. You can bash with it, you can do speed runs with it, it'll handle well on road, on gravel, loose dirt, etc. There is not a lot this car cannot do. Full metal drivetrain, full metal chassis plate on there, 70mm big bore shocks on there, and his wheels will cope with that 70 mile an hour power straight out of the box. Potential downsides to the car: it's got that STX radio, the 15 kilo servo on here. It is probably less stressed on the Typhon than on the other cars in the Arrma range, because this thing weighs so much less on there. So you could potentially stick with a stock servo for quite a while on there. Again, BLX 150 amp ESC and a 2050 kV motor. The speed it reaches that 70 miles an hour has to be seen to be believed. The thing doesn't particularly want to wheelie, and if you re-gear it, you will get well over 90 miles an hour, possibly 100 miles an hour on there. So it's a very, very cheap car to upgrade if you want to be doing speed runs with it. Not necessarily a car to have as a beginner though, because that thing is so very quick. Well, jumping across to the Giga site, there are loads of photos and videos showing that thing in action on there, which you can look through in your own time. Particularly useful is this feature where you can click through on every single one of the Typhon features there. You can see the steel diffs, steel drivetrain on there, and this comes with all the new V4 Arrma features like the slide out motor mount. But from personal experience, I would say this is definitely one of my go-to Arrmas, and for a number of years this was my top one. Then at that price point I mentioned, just check this out. It's just $479.99 on A main for a 70-mile-an-hour car. That is very, very hard indeed to beat. I will put a link to it below the video. As I say, it was my number one Arrma for years until I came across this one. Simply awesome Arrma Infraction 6S BLX. 80-mile-an-hour capable, straight out of the box. Now while it says street bash, don't go thinking you're going to be taking this over huge jumps or getting big air with it, because clearly with that low down plastic front splitter and those slick tyres, this car is all about on-road speed. Now things I like about the radio this time, it comes with the DX2E, but more to the point, that comes with AVC, active vehicle control, enabling you to drift this going flat out, and you will look like a drift god with the AVC dialed in properly. Comes with a 15 kilo servo on there. Personally, that is one of the first things I would uprate. There's not any need to uprate the radio on this one unless you're doing speed runs. If you're changing the gearing and getting up towards the 100-mile-an-hour mark, then this particular radio may run out of room and give you cause for concern. Same BLX 185 150 amp ESC and the ubiquitous BLX 2050 kV motor. As I say, will do 80 miles an hour pretty much straight out of the box. And on the Giga site, well, you could spend half of your day or at least most of your lunchtime watching the videos on this site. And when I mention the videos, I'll leave you to watch those in your own time, but they are absolutely mind-blowing, showing the drifting this car can do. Scanning down to the car itself, see how low that is sitting. It's sitting on the D-Boots Hoons tyres. Now, they produce smoke, real smoke, when you are drifting round on them. The balance of the car is absolutely beautiful, and you'll see the red centre brace in here. Is that needed? Possibly, possibly not. You've got a full steel drivetrain in here with a slide out pinion gear change on here, making changing the gearing if you do want to go even faster on this thing an absolute doddle. Front splitter. You're going to need that to keep the front of this car pinned down on the ground. And a rear air diffuser, better believe it, helps actually suck the car to the ground. You will also know a fully adjustable rear wing on there. And a battery trace, one either side of the chassis on there, makes the perfect weight distribution when it comes to drifting the car. And fully integrated aero chassis underneath here. It's exactly the same chassis as the Limitless has got, which is designed for well over 100 miles an hour. Easy to remove electronics module, and to compare it in size to the Typhon 6S BLX, they have another one of these very handy sliders on there, so you can see just how much bigger it is than the Typhon. Both cars though are an absolute blast to drive, and this one, being able to drift it at just about any speed and real smoke coming off of those tyres, makes it my number one Arrma RC car. So how much is it? Well, it's $599 from A main, which I will put a link to below the video. To my mind, that is one of the best cars you can buy at that price point. I know it's not the cheapest of things, that coming up on 600 bucks plus the cost of the batteries and charger on there, but worth every penny. Simply one of the best RC cars I've ever driven, and certainly the best Arrma RC car I've driven to my mind.
Well, Infraction stands out as my number one Arrma RC car for the reasons that I've just talked you through on there. Possibly the Limitless should have been in that top 5 list, but as I said, park the rollers to one side. Anyway, I hope you like that top 5. If there is an Arrma car that you feel should have been in there, have your say in the comment section right now. And if you like what you saw today, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.